Hi, this is Samantha again, but actually who you're looking at is Nissa, and this is my blog for Monday, May 11th, 2020, which might possibly show up on the camera because I'm having trouble with the settings. And so today I had a therapy appointment. Therapy is always rough. Therapy days are hard. They're like, one of the things about therapy days is that I end up making sure that I don't have any other plans on therapy days because it takes a lot out of you. Even if you don't realize it, even if you think it's an easy day, it may seem like you just walked on a few stones, but then what happens is those stones are moved, and then by the time you get home, there's like a whole avalanche going on. So that's why sometimes it's really good not to have a lot going on after therapy. So what we talked about today in therapy was cutting. And this is a problem. It's a what's the word I want to use? It's a technique or tool that I've used throughout over half of my life to help deal with things when they become too difficult to deal with. So sometimes I cut when I get angry and I don't know what to do with the anger. Sometimes I cut when I'm frustrated. Sometimes I do it when I'm angry with myself as opposed to being angry with someone else. Sometimes I do it just because I need to be self-destructive. And sometimes I do it because I need to feel something, because I feel so numb and empty that I need to feel like there's something in the world that causes I need to feel the pain, because the pain will remind me that there's something in the world. Okay, let me turn this around. Hi. Wait, I'm gonna drop it. There we go. So, this is a serious conversation. I think the thing with cutting, and let me see if I can show you my cuts. I don't know if they'll show up, but I have some there, and then I have some here that aren't quite healed yet. And this is not in any way to encourage you to do this. I want you to understand that if you cut, it doesn't make you a bad person. It means that you are in situations and you don't have the proper tools you need to deal with the situation. One of the things I'm trying is to use this blog to do that instead of cutting, because maybe it will help me out. I don't know if it will or not. I don't know if what I say makes sense or not, or if I'm going to post this, or if anybody's even going to watch it. But I'm hoping. I guess if I do this and somebody watches it and it helps, then somehow it makes it okay. It's like, it makes it worth it that I went through all this. And I went for a long time. I went for over 10 years without cutting. And then suddenly when we moved back in 2010, it all became too much for me. And I started cutting again for a little bit. That was right when my mom died. And then I stopped. And it's only within the last year that I started again, because things have been really, really rough this last year, medicine-wise and stuff, which I'm going to talk about, but not today. There was a time when doctors would see somebody who had cut and said it was a suicide attempt. If it was a suicide attempt, I'd have to be a moron. If you cut, and I am not saying that you should, I do not suggest it. It's not something that I'm promoting. If you do, make sure that you do it safely. Make sure that you wash it, that you use clean items, that you use items that only you have ever used. So if it's like a razor blade, then you need to make sure that you're the only one who has ever used it. and you need to wash it off, and when you're finished, you need to carefully wrap it up and throw it away, because you don't need an infection on top of things. You want to be careful that it's shallow, because once I went too deep and we had to actually go to the hospital and get stitches, and that was like very traumatizing, and I was so embarrassed, and I didn't know what to tell the doctors, and they often have to report that kind of thing. So if you have to do it as safely as you can. And like I said, I can't say enough, like, I'm not promoting that you do this, but people do it, and it's something we do to cope. And you're using a technique to cope, and you use that technique until you find something better. What's important is that you find something better. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm working with my therapist twice a week, and we're working on these things that I forget what they're called, but it's like this whole tapping thing that I do. And I'm hoping part of this is not needing to tell you guys that I cut again. Like, it would feel really good if this is the only time that I had scars to show you. And that after this, anything after this, it's like we could talk about it, but I wouldn't have acted on it again. And if you know somebody who cuts, it's really hard to deal with. There are things you need to know. Different people need different things. Ask them what they need. Make sure it gets cleaned off. Sometimes it's helpful if you clean it off. Maybe you can say, can I show you some love? You're worth love. Can I show you some love and clean this off for you, please? And that can be a really, really important thing. Don't just go silent. At the very least, say, I'm not angry, and I don't know what to say. I want to help you, and I don't know what to say. But let them know that they're not judged. Let them know that you know it's not a suicide attempt, because you know they're not an idiot. And that, I guess the other thing that's important is, it's never something you just do for attention. And doctors will say that, and it's crap. And at the very least, if someone is taking a razor blade to their skin and cutting themselves open because they need attention, then there's a lot more that needs to be looked at. Then there's a situation that is fucked up. And so you can't just go and say, oh, it's just for attention, and write it off. Because maybe it is for attention. Maybe that is the only way the person knows to tell you that they need some attention, that they're hurting inside. Sometimes you cut because it hurts so bad inside that the only thing you know to do is to cut on your skin, because then at least it'll hurt outside the body. And it's easier to deal with it when it hurts outside the body. And so what I'm saying is you need to talk to them and ask why. And you need to not be around judgmental people, because that won't help. A fight won't help. Saying, I don't know how to deal with this and I need 10 minutes, but I still love you, that's okay. But not addressing it doesn't help. And so I guess the two things are that for the person who's doing it, it's a tool, and you don't need to feel guilty about it, because that can often lead to more cutting if you feel guilty about it. So you don't need to feel guilty about it. You need to realize it's a tool. And you need to realize it's a tool that's helping you live. It's a tool that's helping you get through life. It's a tool that helped you make it one more day through life. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's not a healthy tool, but it's a tool. You figured something out. And so now what you need to do is figure out something that's healthier. You need to find something, figure out why you're cutting. Is it emotional? Is it because there's too much pain inside? There's many different reasons, but you need to find out why, and then you need to work on that. Maybe, like a therapist is always a great thing that I'll suggest. And you have to find the right one. The other thing is, if you do it, and like I said 100 times before, I don't suggest this. If you do it, make sure that you do it safely. Use a clean blade that you're going to use. Try and use something that's not real big so that you don't have scars. Don't go deep so that you need stitches, because that can actually, once that happens, it starts to become dangerous. And make sure it gets cleaned off afterwards. And then to the caretakers, I say just love them. If you don't know what to say, tell them that you don't know what to say. Don't just be silent. If it needs to be cleaned off, ask. Do you want me? Maybe I should clean this off for you, and point out to them that you still love them, and that's kind of a sign of your love. And then remember that all of this is just something that you're doing because there's a bigger issue. You're cutting because you're trying to figure out a way to deal with life. And you need to figure out what that issue is, and you need to find a better way to deal with it. So I'm sure that I'll talk about this more, but I'm kind of feeling like talked out right now because, like I said, I had therapy today, and therapy days are always good days to just chill afterwards. So hopefully this will help someone, and I think I'm going to leave comments open for some of these at least, and we'll just be really careful to make sure there's no trolls on the page, and then we can have an honest conversation about it. And I will always check the comments and stuff, so that if there's anyone out there, I'm not a therapist, and I can just kind of talk to you for a little while, and we can see, like, try and figure things out. So anyway, that's that, and I hope that you guys stay safe and sane through the pandemic. Bye.